First of all, we'd like to welcome everybody. Thank everybody for calling in. We have Turning Point this Sunday live on pay-per-view from sunny Orlando, Florida. Quick housekeeping notes. At the end of the call, of course, we'll have pictures and an MP3 of the call available a few hours after the call. Just send a note to your PR TNA representative, either Simon Rothstein in Europe and the UK, Rowan Herbstreet in Australia and New Zealand, or, of course, myself here in the United States. Quick notes. What's today? Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow on Impact. Tomorrow is the live broadcast, 7 Central on Spike TV. It's the final countdown to Turning Point this Sunday. A couple things going on. We've got the number one contenders match preview with AJ Styles battling Bobby Roode on Impact. Just days before the main event ladder match at Turning Point, what will happen with Impact TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the charismatic Enigma, Jeff Hardy, and his challenger, Austin Aries. Also on the big broadcast, TNA Gut Check. Did Christian York pass his gut check? The judges will make their decision. And we, of course, have the fallout after the latest member of Aces and Eights was revealed on last week's Impact broadcast. So how will Immortal Hulk Hogan react to the latest reveal? Tune in, find out. Of course, live this Sunday, we're here to talk about the pay-per-view Turning Point. We've got the ladder match, World Heavyweight Championship, Austin Aries versus the charismatic Enigma, Jeff Hardy. Excuse me. We've got the number one contenders match, Bobby Roode versus James Storm versus AJ Styles. There's a no DQ for the television championship, Magnus versus Samoa Joe. And we also have Devon against Kurt Angle. Last but certainly not least, the tag team titles will be up for grabs. We've got Christopher Daniels and Kazarian against the current champs, Chavo and Hernandez. Mr. Daniels is on the line with us, and he is ready. We'll turn it over and start asking some questions, guys. We will be taking questions at your leisure.
At this time, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And your first question comes from the line of Brady Hicks with Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Great, man. How's it going?
I'm excited to be here. I thank you guys so much for having me. Very gracious. I was just wondering, to lead it off, I mean, you've kind of reinvented your career in a way with Kazarian, that pairing. Are you happy with where you are in your career right now?
I'm absolutely thrilled. When Frankie and I got together and decided to try and be a tag team, I had no idea that we were going to get so successful so quickly. But because we've been friends for the better half of 15 years, I knew that we had a chemistry that would translate well in the ring. And, it was, no matter what was going to happen, we knew we were going to have fun. And now we're having fun and we're having success. That even makes it 10 times better. And I think that we're not just the best tag team in TNA right now. We're the best tag team in the business. You look around at everybody else in professional wrestling, whether they're up north, whether they're in Japan, I think that we're the best tag team in the business right now, and we're going to prove it on Sunday when we wrestle Chavo and Sean and then get our belts back.
Real quick follow-up, if that's okay. You certainly are among the best tag teams, if not the best in the world. I was just wondering, how important is tag team wrestling today? I know a lot of companies don't make it a major focus.
Well, I think that it goes through ebbs and flows. I think it depends on the talent that's in the tag team division. You look back at TNA when the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money were together and staying together. They weren't just a team that sometimes tagged and then followed up on their singles aspirations. They were a team and they stuck together. And that was when tag team wrestling in TNA was at an all-time high. Same thing with other companies. When you've got teams that stick together and make that team their focus, that is usually when the tag team situation is focused upon. And right now, Frankie and I, we're concentrating solely on making our tag team the best tag team in the business. And so, I think that right now, the more success that we have as a team, the more that TNA is going to end up focusing on our championship reigns and the people that are trying to win the tag team titles from us after we win them on Sunday. That's when people are going to start talking about the tag team division again, when Frankie and I have the championships back around our waist.
That's great, Chris. Thanks a lot, and good luck with everything.
You're welcome.
And your next question comes from the line of Scott Fishman with Miami Herald.
Hey, Scott Fishman.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Great. All right. My question is just, you touched on your friendship going way back with TNA and Kazarian. Just curious, do you remember when you first met, and then how you guys clicked and became friends, and then eventually tag team partners?
Well, the truth of the matter is, Frankie, I moved out to California in '96, and I started not training because I had already trained in Windy City Pro Wrestling in Chicago. But when I moved to California, I found a school. It was run by Jesse Hernandez and Bill Anderson called the School of Hard Knocks. I got in touch with them and started training there just to sort of continue my, not training specifically, but just to stay in shape, just to find a ring, to keep practicing, to keep doing stuff, to stay in ring shape. And that was where I met Frankie the first time. We did a couple of shows together. It wasn't until TNA took off in 2002, 2003, where Frankie and I were booked consistently on the same shows. But because we were both Southern California guys, we always had that bond. And then once we started traveling together and doing TNA more frequently, we just got closer and we became very close friends.
All right, and then secondly, you guys seem to work so well with each other on the mic in the last couple of months. Do you attribute that to something? Does TNA giving you more freedom on the mic between you two to be able to interact, or is there anything that's different than before?
Well, certainly Frankie and I are just sort of bringing our real-life characters out on the microphone. We're both very snarky. We're both very sarcastic, and we play well off of each other in real life, and anybody that knows us behind the scenes can attest to that. As far as there's definitely more of a collaboration between us and TNA Creative. I feel like in the past couple of months, people have given us the opportunity because they've seen us go out there and get on the microphone and deliver. And so they're more likely to give us an opportunity to sort of fish for good stuff and try to, swing at every pitch. And, they're giving us those opportunities, and every time we come back and do something well, it just shows them that they had the right idea and given us the opportunity. So, in the past couple of months, TNA Creative, they've given us those opportunities. They've given us the microphone on live events. They've given us the microphone on live television. And, so far we've done well every time we've had the microphone in our hands. So I think they're just going to keep giving us those opportunities.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And your next question comes from the line of Adam Davey with V2 Journal.
Okay. Hello.
Hi there. Just first of all, I think at the moment, as you said earlier on, you are one of the best tag teams out there. Your work with Kaz is absolutely fantastic. And it reminds me actually of early Edge and Christian. And even so much, you impressed me so much, even ordered my first Apple TV last week. So thank you for those. Anyway, my question is more to do with the run that you're having at the moment. As I said, I think it's been really good. Do you think you've benefited with not being involved directly in the Aces and Eights storyline? Do you think you've had more freedom to do your own stuff because you haven't been involved in that?
I don't think one has to do with the other. I think that this Aces and Eights storyline was always going to be something that directly affected the good guys here in TNA. And as anyone can tell right now, Frankie Kazarian and myself are as far from being good guys in TNA as we've ever been. So it's just a matter of two stories sort of running parallel and not interacting as much. Who knows if I'll have any interaction with it in the future. But the truth of the matter is, I feel like even before the Aces and Eights thing started happening, the chemistry that Frankie and I have been building as a tag team, the interaction that we've had with AJ Styles, like that all sort of it built our team to a certain point where we're expected, where people are watching us for our own storyline. Now that Aces and Eights is sort of coming around and we're not involved with that at this point, I think that people know that we're a completely different story.
No, I agree, and I think it'd be fantastic. Just a quick follow-up on that. Who do you think is going to, after you carry on this feud with Hernandez and Chavo, who else do you think is going to come in as another tag team? So it can't just be the two for the foreseeable future. So who can you imagine coming into it soon?
Well, like I said a minute ago, I feel like the tag team division will flourish when there's one tag team to sort of be the target of everybody, and that's what Frankie and I have been. When we win these belts back from Sean and Chavo, we're basically putting out that open challenge. We're letting all the best tag teams in the world, if they want to come back to TNA, if they want to come to TNA and prove that they're good, come take us on. Like, we want to be the next America's Most Wanted. We want to be the next Beer Money. We want to be that team that people look at TNA and go, well, look, this is the guys. These are the guys that are reinventing tag team wrestling. These are the guys that are bringing tag team wrestling back to the forefront of TNA, and that's what we want to be. So the only way we're going to do that is if we have great teams. Chavo and Sean are a great team. Kurt Angle and AJ Styles were a great team, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of guys in the TNA locker room that are going to want an opportunity to be the guys that knocked off Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. So it doesn't matter to me who it is. I'm sure there'll be plenty of teams lining up to get beat by us.
That's great, Chris. Thanks a lot, and look forward to seeing you in the UK.
Again, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And your next question comes from the line of Sean Radican with Pro Wrestling Torch.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? How you doing? First of all, I wanted to ask you, do you see yourself holding the TNA World title before your career is over, or will you be content with your legacy as being a great standout supporting player?
I would love to be world champion. I think that right now it's just a matter of the opportunity coming around. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, could I be world champion, I would have answered yes, but the truth of the matter is I feel like right now, the work that I'm doing, I'm closer to being world champion than I've ever been. I think it's just a matter of circumstances and opportunity. You look back at guys like Mark Henry, who had such a long career in WWE before he finally became world champion. You look at someone like Austin Aries, who 2 years ago, if you had said, can he be world champion, you might have answered negative. But the truth of the matter is it's just a matter of catching fire and catching the eyes. I feel like I've done that in the last couple of months. So could I be a world champion? Absolutely. I feel like I still wrestle a main event style. I can wrestle a main event style. I certainly can get on the microphone and hopefully talk people in the seats to watch me get my ass beat. So let's see. Will I be content? I would love to be a world champion. If it doesn't happen, I have to be honest with myself and say that I've had a very successful career. But yeah, I still think there'll be a little bit of that ache of not being world champion, and I'm going to try and rectify that in the months to come.
A quick follow-up. You've been in TNA a long time, and behind the scenes, have you developed into a locker room leader that maybe other wrestlers can go to, or is that a role that you're still earning?
Wow, that's a good question, man. I hope that people feel like they can come to me and get advice and leadership. I've always tried to be approachable backstage with the other talent. I try to give good advice to the guys coming up, guys that respect me and respect my opinion. I hope that they feel like they can come to me to get both criticism and praise. I feel like, but I mean, you're always earning it. I mean, it's always a matter of, every day you're working towards making the product better. And so, I don't think, even me, myself, I feel like I'm still learning stuff. I'm still trying to become better. And I think that the locker room sees that, and I hope that they respect that as well, as someone who realizes he doesn't know everything. And at the end of the day, it's an opinion. All of my opinions are strictly opinions, and there's no 100% right or wrong answer in pro wrestling. But I hope that they feel like they can come to me and get my opinion and build their own knowledge from my opinions.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Best of luck.
You're welcome.
And your next question comes from the line of Brandon Zando with Ringside Wrestling.
Hey, how you going, Chris?
Great. How are you?
I'm always good, sir. Thanks for talking to me. Firstly, you and Kaz, you're arguably not only one of the best teams work rate-wise, but you're also the funniest heel tag team in wrestling. Who comes up with the ideas like the scarf and the martini? Because I think they're hilarious.
All the stuff that I do is my ideas. Like Frankie and I, we come up with our own stuff for our own selves. The Appletini, the scarf, the GFY glove. Those are all things that I thought I'd try and see if they stuck. And I've been lucky in the sense that most of them have sort of, gotten over with the audience. I mean, I can't go anywhere in terms of live events without someone asking me where my Appletinis are. I just want everyone to know that it's very rare that I drink and wrestle. You really shouldn't do that, so please don't. Be responsible in your beverage taking, everybody. But, these are all things that, it's basically, some of it is basically you don't have the, it's sort of a challenge between us, like, hey, you don't have the guts to do this, and, I'll show you, and we'll go out and do stuff. And some of it is just trying to me wearing, like, the Marvel Comics T-shirts. That's just an homage to the guys that I appreciate and the guys that work hard in Marvel Comics, because I'm still a big fan. And the same thing with Frankie. Like, Frankie does stuff like he wears the Cobra Kai T-shirts because he's a big fan of the Karate Kid. Little things like that. It's just our personality sort of peeking through, and people are sort of catching on to it.
Oh, I love it, man. I love watching Impact just for those parts. Just secondly, too, man, AJ came down and visited us here in Australia a couple of months back. When can we expect the Fallen Angel down under?
It's just a matter of time, man. I actually, last year, had a great tour of a company in Perth. All Action Wrestling, I believe it was called. It was AAW. I can't remember what that stood for, but I think All Action Wrestling. But I would love to come down to Australia. I've had nothing but great experiences down there when I have wrestled there. And, hopefully soon we'll get a chance to come down there and maybe even make a TNA tour of it.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for that, and good luck with the pay-per-view on Sunday.
Thanks. We don't need it, but you're welcome.
Cheers, man.
Your next question comes from the line of Neil Docking with Power Slam Magazine.
Oh, Power Slam Magazine. Hello, mate.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm great, like chocolate cake. What's up, pal?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us this evening.
You're welcome.
I was just wondering if you could tell us what your thoughts were on the Claire Lynch storyline this summer, how it panned out, the audience reaction to the storyline, and what you think maybe could have been done differently.
I think it did as good as it was going to go. I mean, it was a gamble to try and put someone in that position, in that character, that wasn't a wrestler. I think that TNA sort of broke new ground in the sense of trying to do something more personal rather than professional in terms of the character. And I think in hindsight, maybe it sort of bit us in the sense that, Claire, the character, the girl, she wasn't really used to audiences, professional wrestling audiences, and it's a different audience than you hire an actress to be a certain character, and actors and actresses are used to certain audiences, and professional wrestling audiences are completely different than that. And I'm sure that she was surprised by the reactions of some of the stuff, and it sort of prompted her to go her own way a lot earlier than we had expected. So, I mean, in that respect, we possibly could have prepared her a little bit better, or at least given her a better idea of what she was in for. But, I feel like at the end of the day, the main goals of that storyline were to make AJ Styles more virtuous, more of a good guy, and to make myself and Frank Kazarian seem more dastardly and more evil. And I think when you look at the end result of all of that, those two goals were met. Could it have gone better? Sure, of course. You don't, you have no idea how things are going to go when you walk down that aisle and get into the ring. But I feel like, for a good while we have the audience in the palm of our hand, and they were watching TNA wrestling. They weren't sure what was going to happen next, and I feel like that was a good thing. We had them not sure what was going to happen. We had them thinking, well, how can this end? And that to us was a very positive thing. And like I said, at the end of it all, we were the bad guys, AJ was the good guy, and that was what we were aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in pro wrestling you really have to live a character to convince the audience of its, or convince the audience in what you're doing, make them believe in what you're doing. It seems like you're enjoying playing, a bad character at the moment, and that's something that you're reveling in.
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely having the time of my life, and I know Frankie's doing the same thing. We're actually just going out there and being ourselves. Like I said earlier, man, we're very sarcastic, we're very snarky, we play off each other very well. We're like the Statler and Waldorf of TNA, and we're bringing that to television every week.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying watching it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
And your next question comes from the line of Steve Wan with AngryMarks.com.
Why are you so angry, Steve?
Actually, I'm not. That's just the guys who founded the site with me. But thanks for doing the call today.
Understood.
All right. So my first question for you is: you said that you and Kazarian want to be that team that everybody challenges when they come to TNA, but it seems like you've always been that team. When you've been partnered with AJ Styles or when you've been in Triple X, you've always been that team. So how do you compare you and Kazarian to the other great teams you've been in?
Well, the truth of the matter is I feel like Frankie and I have devoted our entire mindset to making this team work. When AJ and I were put together, we had that same mindset, but we quickly realized that the company thought we were better off as singles. We had such a short run together, and we could have, like AJ and I could have gone on, if they had kept us together, we could have gone on and been that team as well. We could have been a team that TNA fans look back on in the same way they looked at America's Most Wanted or Beer Money or the Motor City Machine Gun. But that was a company decision. I think right now the company sees the chemistry that Frankie and I have, and I think that they see that we work like the sum of our parts, is better than us as a singles. And so I feel like they're behind us in terms of keeping this team together and moving forward and trying to make something historic out of it.
Good. And as a follow-up question, speaking of chemistry, we heard on TNA Today with Chavo and Hernandez that Chavo feels he's in the best partnership he's had in a long time as a tag team because he feels they've got great chemistry. So if you had to compare the chemistry of your team with Kazarian and their team, who do you think is going to be the stronger on Sunday?
Well, the truth of the matter is I feel like Frankie and I, we've been friends for such a long time that our chemistry is organic. We've been friends 15 years plus. Chavo and Sean, they're great. Chavo's a great ring general. Chavo has been wrestling for such a long time. He's got that experience. And Sean Hernandez is such a raw talent. And he benefits best when he's in a tag team where he's following someone's lead. You look at his history with guys like Homicide and guys like Anarchia. His greatest success is when someone is the ring general to his army. And Chavo's probably the best example of that. But the truth of the matter is they're not on fire like Frankie and I are on fire. We have been the tag team in TNA for the entire part of 2012, and we're going to be the tag team 2013 and beyond. So, I mean, when it comes to Sunday, we're going to show Chavo and Sean that we are the better team. We've got better chemistry. We're better athletes. We're over and above those two guys, hands down.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing you become the World Tag Team Champions of the World again on Sunday.
Exactly. Thank you, sir.
Hey, guys, we'll open it up for some secondary questions now. So if you've got a second question, go ahead and jump in there.
Yes, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad.
And if you don't, I'm going to start singing karaoke. So here we go.
And you have a follow-up question with Scott Fishman with Miami Herald.
All right, Scott, what do we got?
I'll ask the question anyway. Well, there's so many, up and coming talent, so many new talent in TNA these days. A lot of the talent shows a little bit of, a Christopher Daniels. One of them is Zema Ion. Is there anybody, in TNA right now that you see, taking that extra step and really getting themselves out there?
Well, there's two guys that I think are just an opportunity away from really busting through. One of them, who's been a part of TNA for such a long time, finally came back recently, is Sanjay Dutt. I feel like Sanjay is one win away from being that guy. He could be the guy that leads the X Division. He could be the guy that brings a lot of focus back to the X Division. Another guy that's just like that just recently joined the company is Kenny King. I feel like Kenny is a great character. He's a great athlete. It's just a matter of putting that all together and getting the opportunities, and the consistent opportunities. Both of those guys had opportunities when Zima had the X Division championship. But because of the nature of the X Division, we've been cycling through different talents, giving them opportunities. I think if either one of those guys had a consistent opportunity to be X Division champion, we'd see a new champion. We'd see maybe more spotlight, more focus put on the X Division. And I hope that happens, because the X Division being one of the things that brought attention to TNA in the first place, I feel like it needs an influx of new blood. Zima Ion was a great champion, and I think that he's got a lot more to show the world in terms of his talent, in terms of his character. And it's, I think as time goes on, we'll see a lot more out of him, and hopefully Kenny and Sanjay at the same time.
All right, and you talk about new blood. What do you feel about the gut check and using that and recruiting, new stars and new faces and creating also, captivating television?
I think it's a different idea. It definitely is something that, you're not always going to get somebody that's ready for television. And I think if there's any negative to that, it's giving guys an opportunity that in the end, if they're going to fail, then, you can almost say that we wasted that time. But the truth of the matter is, for every one guy that you bring in that isn't ready, hopefully you're going to get someone like Christian York, who's 100% ready and was always ready. I feel like his match was one of the better gut check matches last week. I would be very, very surprised, me personally, if I was a judge, if I was one of the gut check guys, it would be very hard for me not to give him a yes. And I'd be very surprised if they don't give him an opportunity here at TNA, a long-term opportunity. You get guys like Christian York, you give these opportunities to guys that are fighting for an opportunity to get in television, to get on TNA. You're going to get talent like Christian York to finally break through.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
And your next question comes from the line of David Dunn with NZPWI.
NZPWI, holy crap. All right.
How are you going?
Hey.
I wanted to ask you about Chavo Guerrero, because both you and he are sort of veterans in the pro wrestling scene. You've been doing what you do for a number of years now. But this is the first time, to the best of my knowledge, that the two of you have crossed paths. So how do you find it working with him at this stage in both of your careers?
I think Chavo's, one of the unsung best in professional wrestling. I mean, he's so talented and he's so experienced. I see a lot of similarities between he and I. We've both been, sort of running the roads for such a long time. And when you get that opportunity, when you've wrestled all around you've wrestled so many different people, that experience builds up to the point where you become, sort of like that locker room leader, that the ring general. And I feel like he and I are very similar in that respect. We're very versatile. We're very adaptable. It doesn't matter who we're in the ring with. We both we adapt well to whoever we're in the ring against. And it was great. It was funny that some of the people backstage, the first time Chavo and I worked was a couple of weeks ago. In the first singles match we ever had was on television a couple of weeks ago, and people were surprised that two guys that have been wrestling close to 20 years each had never crossed paths. But that was just the nature of the business. He and I were never. We were in different companies for such a long time. Finally getting an opportunity to lock up, it was a great experience for me, and I always enjoy working with someone of Chavo's caliber. It's a challenge to try and keep up with someone with that much experience and that much talent.
It's fantastic to watch. Thank you for your time. And it should be a cracker.
You're welcome.
On Sunday.
It will be a cracker match, and we will win. Thank you for your honesty, sir.
And you have a follow-up question with Brady Hicks with Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
All right, Brady, what up? How you doing, Chris? I'm good. Last time, obviously. This is going to sound ludicrous, so please bear with me, but especially given how long you've been around and everything. But you said something that really stuck with me earlier. You said you're probably closer right now to the TNA World Title than you've ever been at any point in your career. I found that interesting, and I was wondering how much you're encouraged when you look at TNA's past with really getting behind tag teams and pushing them to the moon. I'm thinking like Bobby Roode and James Storm, both younger than you, but you know what? They used the tag team to break through to that next level, and now they're probably, obviously they're two headliners for the company. I mean, is that encouraging for you?
Absolutely. I think the thing that's actually encouraging to me is that TNA is going to give an opportunity to anybody that catches fire, whether they're in a tag team or in a singles situation. You look at Austin Aries. Austin Aries, 2 years ago, if you would ask anybody if he was going to be TNA World Champion, you would have gotten very few yeses. But I mean, he came in and he caught fire. And so the company responded. They gave him the opportunities, and he took the ball and ran with it. So I'm encouraged to know that if I catch fire in that same method, the opportunities are going to come my way. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like right now I'm doing some of the best work of my career, not just in the ring, but behind a microphone. I feel like I'm compelling people to watch the television whenever I walk to the aisle, whenever I walk into the ring. I feel like people are ready to watch, whether it's to watch me get my ass beat or to watch me say something ridiculous and ludicrous on the mic. If I'm that sort of character, those opportunities are going to come my way. And once those opportunities come my way, it's my job to capitalize on them.
I agree. Thanks a lot, Ben.
You're welcome. By the way, go ahead and send Tag Team of the Year to me and Frankie. You know we're a lock, so just tell all the boys, tell Stu Sachs, I said print those plaques up this instant.
Will do. I can imagine that there's not even a point in having the voting.
Exactly. Go ahead and put them up.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
You're welcome.
As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We have a follow-up question from Adam Davey with V2 Journal.
Hi, Chris, again.
Hello again.
A quick follow-up. Outside of TNA, obviously I know that you're a big comic book fan. You even mentioned, the Marvel T-shirt earlier on. When you finish your career, do you see yourself, A, going into movies, and B, if you have already gone into movies, who would you have been in the Avengers Assemble movie, if you had your choice?
Yeah, man. That as someone who's got a background in theater, I would love to sort of transition into acting. If that opportunity were to come around, if I had to use my friendship with the guys at Marvel to get into the Avengers Assemble movie, I'd be happy with that. And there's plenty of people that I could play. I could be Moon Knight. I mean, there's a bunch of people that wanted me to be Moon Knight in the first movie. I had to turn them down because I was already World Tag Team Champion of the world. But, these are the things that happen. I can always multitask. I have no problem being in the Avengers Assemble movie while I'm enjoying my next reign as World Tag Team Champion of the world.
Fair enough. Thanks again for your time, Chris.
You're welcome.
And your next follow-up comes from Steve Wan with AngryMarks.com.
Okay. And one of the earlier callers mentioned TNA Gut Check bringing new talent into Impact Wrestling, and the thought occurred to me, if they opened it up for, instead of just singles competition, for tag team gut checks, would you like to be the team that tries out guys like Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander, or say the Bravado Brothers, or a team like that?
Absolutely. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I think it's just a matter of time before the gut check opens itself up to a tag team, because there are guys that feel that their best work is going to be in a tag team situation, and they should have opportunities. And let's be honest, if there's anybody that's going to be the standard, if anybody's going to set the bar for tag teams in TNA, it's got to be me and Frankie right now. So yeah, absolutely, I'm ready for that. And when it happens, Frankie and I are going to be at the ring ramp, ready to walk to the ring and give these guys a beating.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing it soon. I'm sure you'll pitch it to TNA.
You just did. I think they all heard you, so they're writing it down right now.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
And your next follow-up comes from Neil Docking with Power Slam Magazine.
Hello again, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Nice to speak to you again. I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the wrestlers who influenced you when you were starting out in your career and growing up as a wrestling fan. Who shaped and influenced your work in the ring?
Well, the truth of the matter is, when I was growing up in North Carolina, the 80s, I was watching guys like Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors, guys that were much bigger than me, much bigger than I had ever hoped that I was going to get. And so, like, when I was younger, I didn't really have an idea of becoming a professional wrestler. I thought there's no way that I was ever going to get to be that big. But then, in my 20s, in the late 80s, early 90s, you saw guys like Sean Waltman, guys like Shawn Michaels, who were having success, and they were, 220, 230 pounds at most. So, like, those are the guys that sort of inspired me to get into professional wrestling and pattern my career after, sort of playing with the hand that you're dealt in terms of, playing more to my speed, playing more to my agility than my actual physical strength. I mean, as a professional wrestler and getting the opportunity to wrestle all over the world in places like Japan and Mexico, those countries, their wrestling sort of lends itself more towards the athletic, the agile, the speed, versus the bodybuilder style or the most muscular guys. So that was where I sort of cut my teeth and honed my craft and became a better wrestler, and learned to work towards my strengths rather than my weaknesses.
Do you think that meant that you had to embrace something more of a high-risk style? And as your career, has progressed, is that something that you think you're going to have, as it progresses, is that something you're going to have to maybe rein in a bit, some of the more, high-risk moves that you performed over the years?
Well, the truth of the matter is I'm very rarely someone who takes a risk that I'm not 100% confident that I'll cash in on. I've always been someone who said if I can't do a certain maneuver 10 times out of 10, whether it's the first 5 minutes or the 55th minute of a match, if I can't do it 10 times out of 10, then I don't do it. I'm very rarely someone who takes reckless risks. And I actually had this discussion with a friend of mine. I told them if I couldn't, the style of wrestling that I do now, I feel like I could do that style of match 5 nights a week, every week of the year, for years. I don't, when I get out of a wrestling ring, it's very rare that I'm beat up, where I'm hurt. I've been very fortunate to avoid serious injury in my career, knock on wood. And, and as long as I can stay healthy and stay at this level, there's no reason why I can't continue doing what I'm doing and wrestling the same style that I wrestle now. I feel like I've been very smart. I've wrestled smart, and that I feel is one of the reasons that my career has been 20 years and climbing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Nobody wants to see a career cut short.
Darn right. Especially my career, as great as it is, heck.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
As a reminder, if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, simply press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And we have a question from Matt Bishop with Slam Wrestling.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned being in this business for 20 years. What keeps you motivated to still go and still get ready, be at the top of your game as you are right now?
Well, I think it's still having goals. I mean, I've still made goals. I still feel like there are things that I haven't done that I want to do. I still want to be world champion. Anybody who doesn't want to be world champion or doesn't foresee a day where he can be world champion, I mean, they're sort of missing the boat. I feel like everybody gets into this business wanting to be the best in the world, wanting to be the top guy in whatever company they end up working at. And that's where I am right now. I still want to be a world champion. Even 20 years in, I still have things that I want to do. I still want to regain the world tag team title. I feel like Frankie and we're just now getting into what we can do as a tag team. This is very early on. We haven't even been a team for a year yet. And there's still things that we want to do. There's still things that we want to accomplish. So I think having those goals motivates me to stay in shape, to be at the best shape of my career, to do new things, to try different things. And I know Frankie feels the same way. This team a year ago, it was just now getting into its, we're just talking about getting into it. Now we're almost a year in, and there are still things we want to do. There's still things that we want to accomplish. And, we want to build on this legacy. We want to be talked about as one of the best tag teams of all time, and it takes time. And so those are goals that we've set for ourselves, and that's what motivates us to sort of keep getting better.
So would you be happy with your career and how it's gone if say, you had to retire at the end of 2012?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be happy if it came on to me that quickly. But I mean, you know, at the end of it all, when I finally decide to hang up the tights, even if it happened to happen today, I would have to, I'd have to take a step back and see all the things that I did accomplish, rather than the things that I didn't get a chance to do. You know, I've been very fortunate in the sense that I've been able to work for this company now for close to 10 years. I did a lot of great things, not just here in TNA, but also in Ring of Honor. I had the opportunity to travel. I had the opportunity to wrestle in main event all over the world, main event pay-per-views, main event television. There are so many things that I got an opportunity to do. And at the very end of it all, I got to feed my family and support my family doing what I love to do. And how many of us get a chance to say that? I've been doing it full time now since the middle of 1999. So, I mean, I've earned my living wrestling. And, if you'd asked me if I was able to do that as a teenager, I didn't know what I'd be able to tell you. But, looking back at the things that I have done and the things that I have accomplished, I can't help but be very, very satisfied with the things that I've done.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Guys, we've got to wrap it up here. Excuse me. Chris, thank you, sir, for your time. And everybody, let's catch Turning Point live on pay-per-view this Sunday, November 11th from Orlando. And, of course, Impact tomorrow night on Spike TV, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We will catch you all on the on next month's call. Thanks for calling. And don't forget, pictures and MP3 after the call. Just let us know, and we'll make those available. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Pose. I'm not sure how, but I'll pose.
Thanks, guys.